You gotta push your limits and push your boundaries to be able to figure out where your boundary is. All right, I always think about it in the context of a line. Imagine there was a line here. However, you actually don't know if that line here exists until you overstep the boundary of that line. And that boundary of that line can consist of anything. It can consist of your capacity, crucial conversations, whatever it is, it is. But this line is a arbitrary line that moves and ebbs and flows. But the only way you'll know where that line is when you cross that line. That's why you see so many successful people speak about them working to maximum capacity, working beyond their maximum capacity, especially for a short period of time, because what that enabled them to do was figure out where that line was. So they were never working to a short or just below their maximum capacity. They were always working at maximum capacity. And that's what's required to be successful. That's why you look at the likes and you hear the stories of the Kobe Bryants of the world. When everyone was rocking up to training at 9 a.m., he'd already trained twice by then. The Cristiano Ronaldos of the world getting to training early and leaving training late, being the first there and the last to leave. Why? Because they had worked so consistently hard on growing and developing themselves to elevate that line constantly. So the harder and harder they worked, it became harder and harder and harder to find that line, because that line was getting elevated and elevated and elevated. But for most people who don't do that consistently, their line might be here, or someone successful, their line's here. So the point I'm trying to communicate is the more consistently you work on growing yourself, the more consistently you focus on reaching your maximum output, the more ability you have to grow your potential, scale your ability, and scale the goals and dreams you bring to life. Why? Because you're always going to be working more than someone else. And at the end of the day, it's a competitive world that we live in. And without competition, we don't have success, right? It's like no one wants a participation award. At the end of the day, you have to constantly grow yourself consistently at a high echelon if you want to move your business forward, your sport forward, any dream, goal, aspiration you have forward. So work on figuring out where that line is, overstepping that line, and growing that line.